and I welcome all our esteemed panelists who have joined from across the country who hold rich experience in the field of education. I welcome each and every one of you. This particular session would be focusing on the role of higher education institutes in imbibing entrepreneurial zeal to young minds. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Archana Mantri, who is the Vice Chancellor with Chitkara University. Thank you very much, Dr. Archana, for joining us. And we are also joined by Dr. Shugla, who is the Director General, Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India from the state of Gujarat. Thank you very much, Dr. Sunilji, for joining us. And we're also joined by Dr. Krishnasri Achutan, who's the Dean of PG Programs, School of Engineering, Faculty of Engineering, Director, Cyber Security, Amritapuri, TBI, Amritapuri. Thank you very much, Dr. Krishnasri, for joining us.
Thank you.
We're also joined by Dr. Abhay Kumar, Vice Chancellor with the Pratap University. Thank you, Dr. Abhayji, for joining us.
My pleasure.
And last speaker, but not the least, Dr. Vikas Singh, who's the Executive Director, ITS Education Group. Thank you very much, Vikas, for joining us. Welcome all of you.
Pleasure to be here, sir.
So we'll take the initial remarks. I would like to start off with Dr. Sunil Shukla, who has joined us from the state of Gujarat, Director General, Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India. Over to you, sir, for your initial remarks on the role of higher education institutions.
Thank you very much, Sudhirji. My greetings to the distinguished panelists. Thank you for inviting me on this occasion. Kerala has been the pioneer in introducing policy for the startups in the country. Also, one of the key features of that policy was, if I remember, which we have been citing elsewhere, that giving attendance waiver to the students who have entrepreneurial zeal, entrepreneurial aspirations, and those who wanted to do something. So a lot of good work has already been done in Kerala. My compliments to all the policymakers, administrators, and academicians from the state. Having said so, I believe that university system should encourage entrepreneurship, and this is right time, not only in India but even outside, and different states have taken lead in introducing courses for entrepreneurship, in introducing incubation facilities, creating common facilities for the students, whether it is a incubation center or any other initiative that they have through opening entrepreneurship development cells. And there are various government departments also that has been encouraging. I believe that students have a lot of potential. I would like to cite one of the studies that I myself have conducted for Ministry of MSME Government of India, that was on entry barriers to entrepreneurship, that why people do not, particularly the youngsters, why do they shy away from venturing into an entrepreneurial career? And for broader entry barriers that we were able to identify, and the first and the foremost of which was the attitudinal barrier. Simply, people were not interested in taking the plunge into entrepreneurship because of various reasons, that they were not interested and they thought that entrepreneurship was not their cup of tea. Followed by barriers like desire to wait for some more time, or lack of confidence because of ignorance about procedures and formalities, or also the disapproval of family and friends. This study was conducted in more than 1,600 people from various states of the country, East, West, representing East, West, North, and South zones. And only about 19%, 19.2 to be precise, they said that yes, we do have some entrepreneurial aspirations, careers in near future. Remaining about 81%, close to 80.8, they said that we do not have any career objective in immediate future over next 3 to 5 years. They had every other career plans, whether to go for higher education or pursue some competitive examination or going abroad but for entrepreneurship. And when we asked the reasons, all these barriers were identified. But more importantly and interestingly, when we asked them that if some of your concerns are addressed, do you think that you will be able to reconsider your career option in favor of business? And the majority of them, 58% of originally 81%, those who had said no to entrepreneurship, out of that, 58% said that yes, we are willing to reconsider career option in entrepreneurship provided three concerns are addressed. And that is finance, that the credit linkage. Second was a business idea, that which business to pursue. And the third was training for business and the management. And I believe these can be addressed suitably through policy interventions, through capacity building measures, and the commonly known entrepreneurship development programs are able to address most of these concerns in terms of their helping them understanding the procedures and formalities, building their confidence, helping them identifying a viable and feasible business idea. So that's the story, and I believe that this is very, very required, very much required, helping them, because if we are able to convert this entrepreneurial potential, we can have a lot of changes coming through entrepreneurs on the campuses. And in recent times, a lot of newer entrepreneurs have emerged. They have come to the fore from the campuses, from higher learning institutions, from premier institutions. And I believe this is right time for them to explore entrepreneurship. For us, I believe that academia, if academia is able to connect with the government and the industry, then there is a perfect ecosystem which facilitates germination and growth of entrepreneurship. And a lot of policies we have seen in terms of regulators, that also is required. One factor that I would like to identify and tell you here, when we talk of entrepreneurship, it's fine. People understand that yes, non-technical graduates can also venture into entrepreneurship. But whenever we talk of startups, probably there is a myth that startups are only technological ventures. If we look at NASSCOM reports of 2020, what they say that more than half of the startups, about 53% startups are in non-technology domain. So there is an opportunity for non-technological startups also, like social business incubators, or a lot of things are there in hospitality services sectors. So students should consider those options as well, rather than only thinking of technology ventures. Of course, technology ventures are helpful, and technology, I see that it's an enabler. Any business opportunity, any domain that you are entering, it can certainly help. So I believe that this is the right time, and I urge my fellow colleagues from academia to encourage entrepreneurship. Already they are doing a lot of universities have mounted good programs. They have started organizing events, elevator pitches, events to facilitate credit linkages, and that is the need of the hour. I compliment them and feel that yes, this is required. And recent announcements by government in terms of various initiatives like Startup India or Digital India, Swachh Bharat, Make in India also provide a lot of newer opportunities. This year in this budget itself, when Finance Minister has announced that the margin money requirement for Stand Up India initiative has been reduced from 25% to 15%. I think that is going to give a boost to entrepreneurship by marginalized section of the society, that is SC/ST, and also by women entrepreneurs, wherein every bank branch is mandated to support 2 units in a year. So I'm sure that time is ripe, and academia already is making its efforts. So students should also come forward and explore alternate career option in terms of entrepreneurship. I would like to stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sunil, for sharing your perception and the idea how the higher education can play a role in terms of imbibing the zeal of entrepreneurship in the young minds. With this, I would like to move on to our next esteemed speaker from Chitkara University. I would like to call upon Dr. Archana Mantri. Ma'am, we would like to have initial remarks from you on this.
Sure. So moving on from where Shuklaji left, in my view, in fact, you were asking about how to nurture innovation, entrepreneurship, the initial remarks. So I would start by saying that in my view, challenge, opportunity, action, and reward go hand in hand. We need to believe in our youth power. So I am proposing a 5-pronged approach. That is what I want to say, and I want to suggest. Here is my 5-pronged approach. Make the youth aware about the problems around us. Challenge and excite them to find solutions to these problems. Third, instill pride and belief that they can do it. Fourth, establish an enabling mechanism to nurture innovation and entrepreneurship. And finally, once they come up with the requisite solution, reward them. The government of India, as suggested by Shuklaji already, that government of India is already doing a lot to follow the above 5 steps. And you will see a lot many programs being run by various government agencies to encourage the youth. What is the need? The need of the hour is that all the higher education institutes, school education institutes, all these educational institutes have to take a lot of initiatives under these 5-pronged approach. Just to give you some examples, supposing, say the first one which I said, the approach and the 5-pronged approach, the first one is to make them aware about the problems around us. So in our institute, we have started certain programs which are focusing on creating awareness. So we have, just to give you an example, we have a program called Engineering Projects in Community Service. We call it EPICS. So in the very first year, the students take up community service projects and try to find, or maybe just give proof of concept solutions to these community problems. We also have, our management school has a concept called Chitkara Mandi, which is buying the products of local vendors and then reselling with their help. In fact, in their mandi only, we provide them a platform, a space in our university, and these local artisans come and sell their products. Our management school, the marketing wing specifically, specialization people, they actually market their products. Various extension programs, social service learning, all these are value-added and credit-based courses where the students would work in community and be aware of these problems. So this is just an example of how we can make the students aware of the problems around us. And they can also get rewarded, credited, they can also earn credit for these kinds of courses. Challenge and excite them. This was the second prong. Challenge and excite them to find solutions to these problems. And this can be done by conducting a series of hackathons, maybe annual hackathons, various kinds of hackathons for creating excitement and challenging them to find best solutions, or at least do their best to find solutions to these problems. Many of these solutions we must be aware and we must be knowing that they might not be workable, but it is okay. I mean, so far as they can be aware of the problems and try to find a solution to these problems, this will instill eventually pride and belief that they can do it. We must know that the students learn more from failures than successes. So let them, or maybe teach them, to embrace failures as well as successes. Establish an enabling mechanism. So a lot of schemes of government of India are there, and even the institutes can keep aside a budget to suitably reward them. So this is what is, maybe they can develop, establish an entrepreneurial cell, innovation cell, IPR cell to support them and nurture innovation and entrepreneurship. And by having this hackathons, by having a nurturing mechanism, by keeping out a separate budget, we can also suitably reward them. So this is what, in a nutshell, an approach which has been proven in many of the institutes around the country can help nurture innovation and entrepreneurship in various institutes. Those were my opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Archana. It's quite interesting that you are making your students aware of local problems. At the same time, you're challenging them, getting them excited. It is also contributing towards the local, vocal for local, where local livelihood, at the same time, there is a kind of economy that is developing around it. Now, I would like to come to Dr. Krishna Sri Achutan, who's Dean of you're also the Dean for the PG programs and also Cyber Security Director for Cyber Security. So we would like to know, and how is it your institution is contributing towards encouraging the young minds toward entrepreneurship. Can you please unmute your microphone, ma'am?
Is it better? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. I'm extremely glad to be here. And also, I appreciate the thoughts already mentioned before. I think they're all very good examples of how to really cultivate and encourage innovation. I'll start with just sharing some of our own best practices. Amrita is actually an 18-year-old university, and today it's ranked as the 4th best university in the country. And it has been entrepreneurial from its very start. I lived myself in the Silicon Valley for a few years and then came back to India. And at that time, definitely entrepreneurship was very, very nascent in the country. And it was slowly becoming mainstream, and very, very happy to see that it has really caught on a lot of importance as it needs to be. In Amrita itself, I think we nurture a lot this culture of innovation. And what do I mean by that? The culture of innovation requires you to really do multiple different types of activities, because every student has a different type of aptitude and background. So all of them may not be able to fall into a specific category of training. So by doing workshops, credit-based courses, design thinking, idea clubs, problem solving, hackathons, certifications, internships, etc., you're really able to embed what is called as very critical thinking into them, and also follow a hands-on approach as opposed to rote learning, which used to be the case in a lot of institutions. So this actually results in creating of an ecosystem that really helps you to allow students to first experiment within their own environments, come up with problem statements, especially looking at social problem solving as the fundamental cause, as mentioned earlier, as a need to be able to make them think independently, and then move them on to spaces such as maker spaces, where they can do some prototype development. This is extremely important to have such facilities to be able to give them that hands-on approach. And then you encourage them to really push themselves and participate in innovation contests and programs that are nationwide, statewide, etc. They get to see where they stand themselves. That's extremely important for them to know whether their idea was actually appreciated by somebody outside of their own mentors and peers. And finally, training them on to intellectual property type of activity. And if it really goes to that level, then you're looking at potentially building a product that is actually industry ready, looking at technology transfer, working with real industries. So what we have done is actually build a framework called with these 4 pillars. The 4 pillars are the facilities, the activities and platforms, giving them the right kind of access, and focusing on the outcomes. And what this does is to holistically educate, relate, innovate, differentiate, elevate, and achieve certain specific goals. And what we've seen is some of these programs and very structured approaches to innovation has helped students look at, even doing startups at the end of their journey, of this education. This is where the education really, really, you can say, creates an impact. So being able to give them the confidence and creativity without worrying about, failing is a very, very important skill to give. And I think the educational institutions can do a lot to be able to help students in these areas, develop curriculums that can provide guidance and also entrepreneurial competencies overall. And these positive outcomes from such initiatives cannot be overstated. I think as encouraging students to come up with new ideas is just something just as creative to them as it is to the mentors themselves. And instilling these values in being able to show grit, intelligence, etc., is also important at an early age, because having resources dedicated to such training will definitely yield next generation of global thinkers and cultivate that spirit of innovation. And this is exactly what Amrita does in being able to win competitions at MIT in the US, and being able to bring in over 1,500 participants from 5 countries, really looking at a niche area like cybersecurity in the country. We've been able to encourage all of these activities through such initiatives. Thank you for your time and really appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Krishnasri, and glad to know that Amrita, first of all, congratulations, as you mentioned, being among the top 4 universities in the country. At the same time, glad to hear a special focus on intellectual property, and at the same time, cybersecurity as well. Now, I would like to have the view from our speaker from Pratap University, the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Abhay Kumar. Over to you, sir.
Very good evening to all the distinguished panelists today. My sincere thanks to APEC for having invited me once again. I am grateful to you. And the topic today, the government of Kerala also must be lauded for the good work they are doing in terms of entrepreneurship. In fact, before I start saying anything, Dr. Sunil Shukla had said so many perfect attributes related to why an entrepreneur sometimes fails. So when I begin whatever I have to speak today, I must say that an attitude, as Dr. Shukla had said, must be there. And how? We have to build an entrepreneurial mindset first if we want to have good entrepreneurs and good startups in the country. Now, how is it going to be done? Well, at higher educational institutes and universities, we are doing our best in terms of trying to inculcate the entrepreneurial skills into the students. But somehow, I personally feel, and I have to be very candid about it, that this must be done right from the school level. The new national education policy has given a good impetus to the entrepreneurial, skills being there in the students. Now, when we talk about startups, I think we always talk about how to start the venture. Now, that is something which I feel should be at the end. Hand holding by mentors should be there. And very rightly said that the government, the industry, and the academic institutions have to come together if we have to have good entrepreneurs in India. Now, why is it that we find that we are looking only for technical entrepreneurship, as said earlier? There are so many people I know, especially in the state of Rajasthan, who are there as entrepreneurs supported by NGOs in terms of the, say, local folk and the local culture and the local art. We have to give a boost to them. And at Pratap University, Jaipur, we have just initiated this concept. We ask our students who belong to the rural areas of Rajasthan to take up such artifacts belonging to Rajasthan, which they can, of course, promote not within the country, but even outside. To say some good things, I would say that students from Nigeria and other Middle East countries who are studying at our university have also taken it upon themselves. And one of the students has even started a venture in his own country. The entrepreneurial development cell, which we have set up at our institution, also needs some propping up. And in that context, I would appeal to Dr. Sunil to help us. He has been helping the universities where I have been previously in. So at Pratap University also, sir, I would seek your help in this. Now, when we are talking about how to infuse zeal into the students' mindset, there are 2 or 3 things which comes to my mind. One is, we have to tell them that to fail is not an offense, but to fail and lose all your money would break you. So how is it to be meant to go further? The basic fact would remain is, let's find out the passion within the students initially. What are his or her interest areas? Because, you know, I have seen in my life that students with passion in a particular area, if they want to pursue and build up a startup in that area, they will spend night and day to be successful. Do not leave it in between. To give you a small example, one of our students who was from the state of Bihar has started vertical gardening in the state capital there. We had handheld him. Now he is doing a wonderful, fabulous job of this in the city of Patna in Bihar. So what initially are the basic things that we must do? Basically, we have to understand that children have not only to be motivated, they have not only to be told how to build a business, taught finance, marketing, or anything. We have to tell them, we have to be on their side, and we have to tell them that if you want to succeed, pursue your passion with all zeal. And this zeal can only come with attitude and building a mindset regarding the entrepreneurship. So that is all I would like to say initially. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abhay. I get to hear that, as mentioned by all the esteemed speakers, it's okay to fail, and it is how we succeed by failing. Now I come to our speaker, Dr. Vikas Singh from the ITS Engineering College. Sir, your initial remarks.
Thank you, Sudhirji, and thanks to this EPEC for inviting me for this National Skill and Entrepreneurship Conclave. It's a big pleasure for me, to be here. The interesting part, which all other speakers have mentioned, and especially Dr. Shukla mentioned, Sudhirji, 5 years back when we were starting the new session, and when we were talking to the all new admitted students at the time of orientation program, hardly, when he was asking that how many of you are interested in starting your own business, once you complete your technical degree, hardly 5% of students used to, raise their hand sitting in the auditorium at various, corners that they are interested. But in last 6 years, there has been tremendous improvement in this. And now, in the population of 1,000 students, 20% of students, which Dr. Shukla also mentioned during his research, about 20% of students now raise their hands that yes, they are interested in pursuing entrepreneurial career. And I think our inspiring Prime Minister Modi ji is also responsible for this, because government is coming up with a lot many slogans, lot many I would say schemes to motivate young technocrats, young students, both from the area of technology and of course also from the area of non-tech place, to start their own entrepreneurial journey. Just like other colleges or other panelists having their ecosystem in the campus, we also created a nice ecosystem, and because of that ecosystem, ITS group got band A recognition. We got top 25 rank in ARIA, and I would like to highlight here that in ITS, in our group, we were trying to create the entire chain, to initially to motivate students and to find out how many of them are interested in starting their own business kind of approach. We had startup weekend where we invited students from all across the branches, all programs, that they can share their ideas and they can start grooming that idea. So with that startup weekend, we could invite good 200 250 students to come and share their ideas. And then from there on, we start allocating mentors to them. We have our ICP, we call it, individual career plan cell. So that ICP cell, one person takes care about 15-20 people. So that becomes kind of a mentored group. My submission is more about the challenges. In last 4 years, all the panelists would be happy to know that we have more than 20 startups now working in the campus. And why I'm saying in the campus, because we created that co-working space culture here. We said that each idea, students can create their own company, can get it registered. It can be a limited company, it can be a single person company, one person company, it can be limited liability partnership. We have our own complete ecosystem to support that registration process. But the question is next. The question is, once they registered and then they started operating within the campus, in that a complete 5,000 square feet, whole, we converted into co-working space, because a lot of, buildings in Noida have now come up as co-working space. So the culture is here. So we started, this culture of co-working space in the campus. And like 3-4 startups have been very, very successful and nicely accepted by people. Their ideas were also very scalable, marketable. In fact, one product was there which was more to do with agriculture sector, and our UP government recognized that product and offered award of 5 lakh rupees to that student. My I think biggest challenge starts once the student passes out, completes the program. Then a lot of change happens. The acceptability of starting a business, I believe, is more with the students, but the parents, the friends, they are not extending the kind of support which is required to these young students to start their business. The gentleman in question, in discussion, the person who set up that thriving kind of business, good idea, a very good company offered him a job, and he registered company. One of the faculty was also a director there in that group. But his mother and his father were after him that it's time to get look for a match for you, time to get married, and for how long you will be working in this startup. Why not you start a good job and then start your career? I think there are a lot of, which Dr. Shukla also mentioned, support from parents and friends. There is a big challenge here. Government is providing schemes. Colleges have been able to motivate students and take up that as a career, but there is a gap. After 4 years, when you are in the campus for say 1 or 2 more years and working on your project, working on your startup, I think there should be some structure. We at ITS, we signed up with 2 angel investors. One is a company from Singapore, Paddock Ventures, and our own management. Our own honorable chairman, Dr. R.P. Chadda, he kindly consented that for first 1,000 days, if a student has created a startup, then they are going to extend financial support. So that support system is available. If somebody is requiring larger amount, we have a MOU with a like international angel investor group. For smaller supports, we have our own college, supporting that, our own, not college, in fact, the society, the trust which is running this institution group, they are supporting. And of course, in both the cases, they'll be taking some part of ownership. So there are a lot of questions to be answered. How much part of ownership will be taken by the angel investors or by the colleges? They are young kids working in group of 2, 3, 4. Maybe a girl would be the first one to leave. Maybe out of remaining 3, 2 boys will again leave. So I think we should, the challenge is how to market that, how to elongate the sustainability of that startup. I think now challenge is now shifting. It is shifting from starting the culture or making the awareness. I think it is now more towards sustaining the efforts that we have been putting in for last 5-6 years. I think now there should be some system should be created wherein we can continue to motivate those students, and those students can also feel that yes, they could contribute some concrete thing. So I would be very happy if my other esteemed panel members can throw some light how they are tackling this challenge at their places. That startup is there, registered startup is there, business has started, but then the inertia starts coming in, and because of lack of support, students start looking at other options. Sudhirji, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'll be very happy to comments of other panelists.
Absolutely rightly pointed out, Dr. Vikasji. Now, as Dr. Sunil Shuklaji has mentioned, there is an increase in entrepreneurship, the zeal within the students. Now, as you rightly mentioned, there is a shift in the challenge, especially towards the sustainability. As now, I would take the same question from Dr. Vikasji to Dr. Sunilji. Can you please tell us how is the ecosystem being created outside when the student is out of the campus?
Sir, I think ecosystem has become a lot more favorable today. 5 years back in our country, we had hardly 40-50 incubation centers. Today, last year's report, NASSCOM again 2020 says that more than 520 plus functional incubation centers are there in the country. And this does not include the private sector incubation center. A lot of there through Atal Innovation Mission, through DST, through biotechnology, and there are several other departments, state departments that also have been supporting. Funding, if you look at it, I think CGTMSC is there, Credit Guarantee Trust for Micro Small Enterprises. A lot of venture finance companies are there. Angel networks are there. I don't have to mention about Indian Angel or Mumbai Angel Network. There are other funding supports available. Mudra, in fact, that has come for those who require some support. That is there. Startup India initiative itself, where fund of funds is being managed by the SIDBI, that is there. So I would say that for marketing, also the support is there. E-commerce companies that have come. For funding, for training, capacity building, for hand holding, mentoring, a lot of things have changed and changed for the betterment. And today's more than anything else, I think it is the students, their appetite for doing something different, their appetite for doing something innovative, that certainly has played a major role. We get at our institute, we run a full-fledged postgraduate program on entrepreneurship. Also, another program is on innovation, venture creation, and entrepreneurship. We also have a fellow program, doctoral exclusively on entrepreneurship. And today, in our postgraduate programs, we get students who are very, very clear about what do they want to do, and no longer coming at EDI in hope of securing placement options, because we don't provide placements. We do facilitate, that is different. We might do that, but they are very clear about what idea they have, what kind of product they have, what is the market that they have. They look forward to getting some insights and polishing, refining, shaping their business plans. While things have improved, but all my panelists, distinguished panelists, would agree that while number of startups are coming, but startup mortality rate is also substantially higher. The data says that about 60-65%, but I would say in reality, probably the mortality rate could even cross 80-85%. One of the observations, we have studied startups and the incubation centers as a part of DST Policy Research Center, and what we believe that sometimes these startups are so fascinated by their ideas that they immediately jump into the bandwagon without looking into the market, without doing their proper homework or the market surveys. And that is why we suggest to them that not only market survey, but all incubation centers should have pre-incubation activities, including prototype, including market, including exploring funding support. Funding also, if you want debt funding, probably that is available today, but equity funding is relatively much more difficult even now. So if we are able to create that awareness and facilitate them with the right kind of support, probably things would be different. So startup ecosystem, I would say, that certainly there, but it is up to the initiative of the students and the incubators. At our incubation center, what we have, Cradle, Center for Advancing and Launching Enterprises, which is a separate Section 8 company on campus. In past 3 years, we have about 50 plus incubators, and more than half of them have been able to mobilize funding support, and more than again half of them have been able to either get grants or they have been awarded by various government bodies. So there are good students, good startups. The challenge is connecting them with the industry for extending mentoring support and connecting them with the financial institutions. This is what I believe that will certainly be very, very helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shukla. That's quite interesting to know that even after passing out, there is a support system that's been created. Now I come to Dr. Archana. As Dr. Shukla,
I have to take your permission and permission from honorable members. They are calling me, and if you can kindly allow me, I would like to excuse myself for my another
Absolutely.
in our conference.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Ma'am. Dr. Archana, ma'am, it was pleasure listening to you on the other day on AICT forum, and I invite you all, to visit EDI Ahmedabad. And Dr. Abhay, I would certainly get in touch with you, and I would be delighted to work with you under your guidance to strengthen entrepreneurship in your institution. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
With this, I would like to come to Dr. Archana. As Mr. Shukla has rightly pointed out, there is a reality check that is lacking, as some of the startups are so fascinated about by their idea. So how is your institution or organization is helping to give that reality check and help them or handhold them in terms of dealing with the challenges of the market?
See, I believe in the principle of stability. I would draw an analogy with the inverted funnel. When an inverted funnel is put with its base down, the funnel is stable. And that is why we need, for this entrepreneurship system also to be stable, we need a pipeline, we need a base which is wide enough. However, we must realize, we must know, we must appreciate that only very few ideas would make it to the top. And that itself, this principle itself is very, very self-explanatory, that how entrepreneurship system can be made stable. So let's not forget that by the fear of failure, let us not stop the ideas to pour in. Let the ideas be poured in, let the ideas be coming in. We know, the entrepreneurship system would know that only very few would make it to the top. But even those ideas, even those students who put up those ideas and fail, their ideas cannot make it to a startup venture or a successful startup venture, it's okay, because there is a lot of learning over there also. So what we do in our institute is, with these EPICS programs and with a lot of other social service learning, lot of other hackathons, we invite a lot of ideas. Let them all be coming in. Then at various stages, to support various stages of ideas, we have got various programs and enabling mechanisms and fundings available. So just to give you an example, we have this IEDC center because Dr. Shukla was also talking about having pre-incubation center. So this pre-incubation center is IEDC, Innovation and Entrepreneurship Development Center, which is also incidentally managed and supported by EDI Ahmedabad, wherein all these ideas, those who require prototyping support, they are given prototyping support. Many of the prototypes we realize in the last 3 years fail. They do not do what they are supposed to do. But it's okay. Those who succeed, they land into our accelerator program, which the accelerator program is actually wherein the students are mentored through a 1-year capstone project, or what we also call as co-op project, to make their successful prototypes into business ventures. They are mentored through various business activities, design thinking, and mentorship, and also a lot of mentoring happens there, not only technical but also business mentoring to make them successful business ventures. What culminates, this accelerator program culminates into a funding fest. So this funding fest, we invite a lot of venture capitalists, those angel funds also, and quite a few of these business ventures who have gone through this accelerator program land into actual funding. They actually fetch funding through this fund fest and they go on to become scalable and also to become further successful. So what I'm trying to say is there is an inverted funnel. There are a lot of ideas coming in. Some stop at the idea stage itself. Some go to the prototyping stage. Very few of them move to the accelerator program, and very few of those few land into actual funding. But that's fine. The amount of learning which is taking place, and that is what is the role of an educational institute, to make them learn. So there is a lot of learning which is taking place all through this journey, and it's okay to fail. It's okay not to have in the scorecard of the institute those many successful startups. But the learning which the students would anyway have had earned is something that should be shown in the scorecard of the university or any institute. Thank you.
Absolutely right, Dr. Archana. It's okay to fail, and it's the effort and the experience that an individual student gets out of these efforts is what actually matters and represents in the scorecard, as you mentioned. Can we look at a different approach, how to decrease the failure aspects and increase the frequency of the success, especially what needs to be done and what is being done at your institution, Dr. Krishna? To increase the success.
That's actually a difficult question, because there is not a single recipe to be, to ensure that, something will be successful or not. But there's a lot of factors that you can actually take into account to ensure that you're on the right track and you've learned from the mistakes of others and not have to repeat it. So I think one of the fundamental things for success is really level of innovation in your idea. Because if it is still, like, say, run-of-the-mill, it's very, very easy for somebody, or if you do not really have a product or a service that really sets you apart from what is out there, then definitely you're going to see a lot of potential competition. Even if you're only having, even if you have a considerable lead, you can be assured that somebody will catch up with you. So the level of innovation is very, very important. So having the thoroughness and the problem statement clear as to what exactly you're addressing, who the audience you're addressing it to is critical. The second really is the team. Obviously, you want to have the winning team on your side, and that involves having diversity, having complementary skill sets, etc., to be able to face any type of potential challenge that come by. The third is definitely your ecosystem and the type of network you have, the mentors you have. They play a significant role in how successful you can be, especially when you are facing challenges such as, say, in this COVID pandemic, where a lot of startups had a lot of challenges with really meeting their customers' requirements and, going out there and really getting the deals that they had signed up for that were almost at the last stage, but then did not go through. It really, really becomes important that you are able to bank on a network that can still deliver for you and keep you successful. So I would say these are the primary three ingredients that we feel are important for any startup or idea to be successful. If you are looking at a very, very young team, obviously, I think the challenge that they would face culturally at home, etc., play a key role in deciding what they want to do next. So that's where you see a lot of failures happening or people giving up because they may be the only breadwinner, and a single wave can really put you off track significantly, that you start looking at other options. So from that, what you see, people with some experience coming into entrepreneurship definitely are the ones that go a long way to become successful entrepreneurs. The freshers that come out, a very, very small percentage of them are able to stay on this path of entrepreneurship and take it to some, a successful ending. But overall, I think even having that spirit of entrepreneurship is, I think, a success. Even if you have failed, everything that you have done has made you learn very, very important steps. And many times I see that the spirit of entrepreneurship does not die with one idea. So people are wanting to continue to explore newer areas, newer domains. That fire continues to stay alive in them. And that, I feel, is truly a success metric. That you can say you have helped nurture in somebody.
Absolutely, absolutely, Dr. Krishnasri, as you rightly mentioned, that the fire, the entrepreneurship fire, or the fire that to keep going, that is what is actually the success. And even the startup fails, there are very good chances. The same zeal, if it continues, there are good chances they succeed, if not in the first time, but maybe in the later time. Dr. Abhay, your crisp view on the same question.
Yeah, my views are very candid, saying that in my last 10 years of my career, I've seen that many of the ideas which have come up are driven more by the environment. That is what people are doing right now, instead of what passion they have and instead of what skills they possess. So mentorship becomes a very important criteria in this aspect. Mentors from the industry as well as from academia. So this is the first thought. Second is, when the say startup is on the verge of success, or rather they have succeeded. I have seen that in our university, two of our student groups decided to sell it off to somebody and become a CEO of that amalgamated company. Now, transferring of equity at a stage when success has come and you are bound to succeed more, they are not willing to take risks. This is the second aspect I have seen in the past few years. Third aspect, that sustainability in itself is difficult to some extent. As has been said earlier, 80 to 85% of the startups are failing. They are failing not because they cannot succeed, but I personally feel they are failing because they have not clearly done their homework in terms of either say possessing the right financial skills. Either the team has not been bonded together uh, after a few months of the startup coming. So there are so many things which can be there. But I believe that the Make in India strategy of the Honorable Prime Minister is bound to be here, and we are to see an explosive growth in entrepreneurship in the years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abhay. Before I end the session, I would like to have the parting views from Dr. Vikas. How do you think, as you have taken the view of all the eminent speakers, and how do you think this system can be further strengthened?
I'm in total agreement with what Dr. Achyutan has said. This fire. In fact, students who join this ecosystem of entrepreneurship at the campus, they go through hackathons, they go through idea competitions, they start prototyping. We also have New Gen IEDC as Chitkara is having. So they make their prototype, and in this process, so what happens? These students become extra smart. They develop this ownership abilities. They start looking at a business problem, from the perspective of not of a employee, but rather from the perspective of employer. And what I have interestingly seen and witnessed over last few years, these students, those who are basically enjoying the facilities and services which are meant for startups, they get rather better placements. The companies which are paying higher salaries, the companies which are looking for a different kind of personality, perspective, mindset, those companies, they pick these students more readily rather than the other students, those who have not utilized these services. So my question is around this ecosystem. We are creating ecosystem. We are using government support. We are using other fundings. We are creating a system where students are having that zeal. They are looking forward to start a successful business. But somehow, when their tenure at the campus, is about to finish, something is happening right now, which maybe another 2 3 4 years down the line will have a more concrete solution towards that. That in that space of 2 3 6 7 months, we have a lot of people, those who are leaving those ventures, leaving that startup or ideation process, and jumping onto the jobs and placement scenario. We have taken certain steps in last 2 years. We have now ensured that when you are creating a group, there should be some students from second year, some students from third year, some students from management, some from engineering. So we're trying to create a team kind of approach where even if 1 or 2 people leave, then the idea will not die down. It will not, the process will not stop, and maybe other students can join the same bandwagon and can take it forward. We are trying to find out a solution, because I personally believe, my belief is that when we are using this government fund, when we are using these government schemes, actually there should be some concrete output, and every year there should be 4 or 5 startups which are going to marketplace and starting a entrepreneurial journey. This is my personal belief, said that a solution is to be, it needs to be evolved during that particular phase when students tend to leave the startup and move towards placement, which they were also doing earlier. So using this facility and preparing more for placements, I think that is not in the right spirit of the schemes of governments or funds of governments. This is my thought on this, Sudhirji.
Absolutely right, Dr. Vikas. So overall, the gist I get of all the speakers is the spirit itself when a student gets into that entrepreneurship and comes up with the idea, that itself is a success. Whether he fails or not, whether his startups runs into a successful startup, a profit-making startup, or anyway he's being readily absorbed by other companies with higher paychecks or the higher pay packages. So with this, and absolutely there is a necessity where, as Dr. Abhay mentioned, when there is a time when the startups start reaping benefits and comes into profit, they sell it off and they become CEOs of those startups. Maybe they think that is a less of risk and more of, making the benefits. But absolutely, as all the eminent speakers have mentioned, there is a post-campus incubation facility that needs to be strengthened in order to sustain the idea and sustain the startup. With this, I would like to end this session. We are going to have some wonderful special talk on Industry 4.0 and future of work by Mr. Vijay K. Banda, Senior Director, Cyber Security, Qualcomm. And after that, we'll have a closing remark from my colleague, Mr. Souvik Goswami, at the end of this day. And with this, I would like to thank our esteemed speakers, Dr. Archana Mantriji, for the Vice Chancellor, Chitkara University. Thanks for sharing your... and also Dr. Shukla, who joined us, Director General, Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India, Gujarat. Dr. Krishnasri Achutan, who from Amritapuri, who is also the Dean of PG Programs and also Director for Cyber Security. Thanks for joining us. And Dr. Abhay Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Pratap University. Dr. Vikas Singh, Executive Director for ITS Education Group. I would like to tell you all these important discussion will be documented and recorded in our conclave report.